This is a heist for the Avs as the front office continues to stay busy, locking up players at very strong prices in order to solidify the best possible roster for the Avs as we head into the 2025 NHL season. And now that another player has been officially re-signed and locked up with Colorado for the near future, it has implications as far as what the roster will look like and how this team will shape up ahead of the next NHL season coming up just around the corner here. We're going to dive into this signing today, break down everything around this player, the deal, how much we're paying for him, and how he will continue to add depth and skill to the Colorado Avalanche roster. Welcome to Avalanche Digest, everybody. Mark Robinson, happy to be with you breaking down this new signing today. Before we dive into all the details around this massive Avalanche update, I want to remind everybody to make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. 89.4% of you guys that are tuning in, watching Avs Digest every day, not subscribed to the channel. Join the family, join the Avs Digest community. If you're here, if you're watching our videos, you must love the Avs or even just love hockey. And so continue to support the channel. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Please exit out of the video, hit that subscribe button. It takes 5 seconds. And like I said, we appreciate every single one of your support. Thank you so much. Without further ado, let's dive into this massive re-signing for the Colorado Avalanche. They agree to terms with the restricted free agent Sam Malinski, the right shot defenseman, on a 1-year, $1.4 million deal. He had 15 points in 76 games this last season. We're going to dive a little bit more into his stats in just a second here, but this is a big signing for the Colorado Avalanche. Obviously, like we just said, his cap hit will be now in the $1,400,000 range. That's what he'll make in 1 year on his contract. And with that, let's take a look at his stats last season. Like we just talked about, 76 games played. He had 5 goals and 10 assists throughout the season to total for 15 points. So as a young up-and-coming defenseman in the league, he's definitely also a very defensive defenseman. Doesn't generate as much offense. He does a lot more, forechecking, back-checking, a lot of really big hits, a lot of really big defensive plays in that defensive position, if that makes sense. Obviously, for example, like you make the comparison that Cale Makar, very offensive defenseman, does a really good job on the forecheck and the back check and does a really good job playing defense, but he's also able to generate a lot of offense up at the blue line, take a lot of really strong shots from the top of the offensive zone. Sam Malinski, able to do this as well. He has a really strong right-handed shot, but a very defensive defenseman as well, and usually playing on the third line. He doesn't obviously have as many opportunities to score. So, like I said, as an up-and-coming defenseman, somebody that is trying to, get better and continue to gain skill and experience in the league, this is a perfect contract for him, and it puts him in a perfect place. Obviously, a defenseman, like we talked about, standing at 5'11", weighing in at 190 pounds, shooting right-handed. He is a pretty strong size for a defenseman. Obviously, not as much height. I mean, he's 1 inch off of 6 foot, so he's a decently tall guy, but it's the weight that stands out to me. He's a big boy. 190 pounds for a 5'11" individual is pretty strong ratio as far as weight goes. So he's a heavy guy. He likes to lay big hits. He likes to be a really physical, strong, big defenseman, and it just goes to show kind of the style of play that he puts forth as far as being a defenseman goes. He is very physical. He plays a lot of defensive, a lot of heavy defense, that is. A lot of back checking in the corner as well as kind of forechecking in the defensive zone. And he does a really strong job where he's at. And when he's able to score, he has a really strong, fast shot that is sometimes hard to block and hard to get around. And we've seen it in action up at the blue line in the offensive zone every once in a while. Sam Malinski can be dangerous on offense as well. And something else that's super notable about this is the Avs able to get him at a pretty good price in the 1.4 million AAV range. It doesn't hurt their cap hit, just their cap space in general that much. They have a decent amount of room to work with still, with free agency season coming up right around the corner on July 1st. But they're also able to, at the same time, solidify another defenseman for the next coming season. Somebody who originally started out playing a lot of games in the AHL for the Colorado Eagles. He's kind of moved himself up and is playing full seasons with the Avs now. And in a situation where he's now signed a full 1-year contract, making 1.4 million AAV. it's almost a, two birds with one stone, win-win situation for both of these scenarios, because the front office able to get him at a good price and keep a lot of cap space available. We should still have 6 to 7, maybe even 8 million available to sign some other players come July 1st. But Sam Malinski also gets locked up, and he continues to be a strong defensive asset that the Avalanche will utilize. We just looked at his last season stats. Let's quickly just glance at kind of his all-time stats. So like we talked about, playing in the AHL and the NHL in the 2023-24 season. In the AHL, in 46 games, he had 5 goals and 22 assists for 27 points. So a lot of apples up at the blue line for Sam Malinski, able to help generate offense from the AHL standpoint, and was a standout player for the Eagles. And then you look at his NHL season, he had 3 goals, 7 assists, tallying for 10 points. And then like we talked about last season, he beat his goal and assist record and his point record. He had the highest season that he's had so far, 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points. And so now that he's coming into the 2025 season on a $1.4 million contract, the hope is that he can potentially produce a little bit more. And since he'll be comfortable and confident in the position that he's at, considering he's making some more money and he's actually on a legitimate NHL contract, there's potential that he can shine and he can have another career and he could break all of those records and all of those numbers. Another, just really quickly glancing at his playoff statistics this year, in 5 playoff games played, he had no goals and 1 assist, only 1 point. And the year before, in only 3 games played, no goals, 2 assists for 2 points. Once again, we like to see these playoff numbers get up a little bit, but he's continuing to build playoff experience. He is continuing to play more and more games in the postseason with the Colorado Avalanche specifically. And with that in mind, hoping and considering that the Avs make the playoffs next season, which they're on a pretty long streak of making the playoffs. I'm not too worried about them solidifying a spot in next year's Stanley Cup final playoffs. But if they are able to do that, Malinski continuing to get playoff reps and hopefully can find himself getting a little bit more comfortable and hopefully break out as far as playoff skill goes. So let's look now at just the defensive pairings as they stand today right now for the Avs. Obviously, you have the best defensive pairing in the league in Devon Toews and Cale Makar, the number 1 D pairing. They are absolutely electric. They ignite the ice on defense at the blue line. Nothing is changing about that. Then you have Sammy G and Josh Manson, who are also still kind of both question marks. Sammy G specifically, thinking about trading him or dumping him out of the roster. And then obviously you have Keaton Middleton and then Sam Malinski, who has just been locked up at that $1.4 million 1-year AAV contract. So you kind of think about where Malinski will be playing, where he'll primarily be slotted into the lineup under the leadership of Jared Bednar. I like him at that 3 spot still. I think he does a really good job with Keaton Middleton. But something else that I'd like to see potentially is maybe bumping him up to more of a full-time second D pairing spot. Depending on whether or not Sammy G or Josh Manson stick around, putting him in one of those 2 areas, and then finding someone to fill that last spot, potentially one of our draft picks, who we drafted 2 defensemen recently. If they, work their way up to the AHL and maybe bounce their way back and forth between the AHL and the NHL and get some third-line D experience, I think Sam Malinski's kind of earned a second D pairing spot, at least for parts of the season, where, obviously these are the initial D pairings right here, but Jared Bednar will play around with these quite a bit and, mess with who's playing where and all that stuff. Every once in a while you even see, Malinski up on the 1D pairing with, Devon Toews or Cale Makar, just, purely with, people being tired, legs being tired, and Bednar needing to kind of mix everything up and get some new mojo going with the lineup. But whether or not, he's on the second or the third line, wherever he is on the D pairings, he continues to thrive, both as a leader to some of the guys that may not be as strong of a defenseman as him, and on the other side of things when he's playing with, older guys like Devon Toews or skilled guys like Cale Makar, where he can learn so much from them and benefit from them in being on their defensive pairing. So, kind of to round things out, $1.4 million, 1-year contract, 2-way right defenseman. He's a fast skater, really defensive player. He knows how to handle the puck really well. He's very strong on the hitting and the checking. A little bit smaller than 6 feet, but still nonetheless a big player, a physical player, and a player who's got a lot of grit and dedication and wants to be on this Colorado Avalanche roster. Gets locked up for $1.4 million, 1-year contract. I like how it's a short-term contract too. If he comes into this season next year and he doesn't perform, he has lower numbers than he did last year, or he doesn't impress the roster and the coaching staff, he can be dealt with at the end of next season. It's a win-win for both sides of this specific situation, and I'm stoked to see Sam Malinski get locked up on a pretty decent price for the next coming season. Free agency season, July 1st, coming up right around the corner. Check out Avs Digest. We're going to be breaking down every free agency signing, every rumor, and everything regarding who the Avs lock up on their roster with the remaining cap space that they have left. Appreciate you guys' support as usual. Have a good one.